couple of speakers before we hear from Mitch. The first one's going to be T.C. Mohr, talking about education.
Hi, everyone. My name is T.C. Mohr, and I'm a mother of 4 children. I've been involved in the school system as a volunteer for over 23 years combined with all of my children. I've also worked as a paraprofessional for 3 years. My children have attended a local charter school where parental involvement often serves as a means to compensate for the lack of funding. Parents are committed to bringing their talents into the classroom. I have personally seen Mitchell Weiss participate in teaching art and music in our school, 2 subject matters that I am passionate about, and 2 subject matters that have suffered serious cuts. I have had the opportunity to see what the lack of proper funding looks like in a classroom for many years. Classroom sizes increase and more demands are placed on teachers to conform to the standardized testing. Quoting Emily Richmond of The Atlantic, tired baby in my arms, sorry guys. Reports from across the nation show a grim future. Reports of unfair and inequitable funding in public education, with schools serving the highest proportion of impoverished students, most often on the losing end. According to the first report from the Leadership Conference Education Fund and the Education Law Centers, states are forcing schools to continue to do more with less, despite the country's gradual economic recovery from the recession. As Wade Henderson, president of the Leadership Conference on Civil Rights and Leadership Conference Education, thank you. The evidence from across the country is clear and compelling. Our nation must dramatically change the way the educational resources are distributed so that there is true equity in America's classrooms. In far too many states, public school spending remains unfair, irrational, and unconnected to the resources that our children need to succeed. Please join me in supporting Mitchell Weiss for Senate.
And now we're going to be hearing from Terri Gilfillan, who will be talking about access to health care.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I've known Mitchell Weiss for several years, and I've had many conversations with him. One of our conversations is something near and dear to my heart, and that is access to affordable health care for all our citizens. As a rehabilitation counselor, I can tell you how valuable the PPACA has been for so many of my disabled clients. They want to work, but they're unable to work full-time where they would possibly qualify for employer-sponsored health care. The PPACA afforded them the opportunity to work part-time and get the medical care that they needed. I contend that the PPACA was a vehicle that provided many disabled people in our country the ability to live, first of all, a quality of life, contribute to their community, and get the health care they needed to stay working and contributing. Without the ACA, they would not have been able to afford the health insurance to cover their medical needs, and therefore would most likely be unable to work. I'm a strong advocate of keeping the protections of the current PPACA, one for the free preventative care, which I believe helps prevent serious illness and more costly care later in life, 2, equality in premiums so that women and men and children and anyone with pre-existing conditions are not discriminated against, And 3, no penalties or caps for people with pre-existing conditions. I campaigned for Barack Obama in 2012 because his opponent threatened to take these very important provisions away. I'm here because this is personal for me. I have 2 children, daughters. They both have type 1 diabetes through no fault of their own. Now, if you met my daughters, you would not know by looking at them that they have a condition that requires lifelong medical management that costs $20,000 per year per child. And that is just maintaining so that they live normal, healthy lives. That figure does not cover any additional costs for injuries or accidents or complications associated with this pre-existing condition. It basically is just about covering their daily insulin needs so they can live. My children are happy, healthy, participating members of society because they have health care insurance that covers their diabetes management costs. Both of my children are bright, aspiring children with a promising future, as long as they get the insulin and medical care they need to maintain. Without it, they die. I want them to have the opportunity to finish their education and be able to become entrepreneurs. We always hear the wonderful thing about, United States being a wonderful place to start a business. Well, it is if you don't have a disability. Without guarantee of affordable health care for pre-existing condition, they would be burdened with the inability to obtain health insurance on their own in order to keep the insulin they need every day, all day, to survive. Our current state senators have jumped on the repeal train that appears to be headed in the wrong direction and possibly right off the cliff. Mitchell Weiss does not want to see less people being able to obtain health care. He wants more people to have affordable access to health care so they can lead as healthy lives as possible and continue to contribute to our society and our communities. There is nothing to gain by keeping people sick and unable to access health care. In fact, it's my contention that the economic consequences of that are greater than providing that care for all of our citizens. We need health care that would allow people to manage their conditions so they can work and can contribute to society. Mitchell understands the importance of keeping health care coverage for our most vulnerable and the absolute need to allow affordable health care coverage for persons with pre-existing conditions. This is why I support Mitchell Weiss to be our next Utah Senator. Thank you.
So we just heard about 2 of the many things that Mitchell Weiss cares about and will fight for. But let me tell you a little bit about who I am. My name is Jasper Clayton, and first, I am a born and bred Utahn. Second, I am the proud son of 2 small business owners. And third, I am a political junkie who fights every day to make sure that mine, my family, and my friends' lives are better. I am the vice chair of Salt Lake County Young Democrats, and I have worked on campaigns from municipal elections here in Salt Lake to Ogden, to local, state, and nationwide races. I have taught English and civics to refugees who are ready to become citizens, and I have fought against the school-to-prison pipeline by helping communities and families understand and learn how to use restorative justice. Side note, I have also helped further the LGBTQIA+ agenda here on a local level, so I'm sorry about that. I am here today because Mitchell Weiss will be the expression of something different we need in American politics. He is the something new we need, because he grew up in a time where what we have today, and sometimes what we take for granted, was non-existent. He knows what we could go back to, and he understands that we are at a tipping point. Something that I have taken for granted for far too long is where we've come in the gay community since the 1980s. Mitchell Weiss saw open persecution, denial of marriage, and people he knew stripped of health coverage because of a disease. We have come leaps and bounds since then, but what is happening with healthcare in Washington right now absolutely terrifies me, and we cannot go backwards. As a young Democrat in Utah, I feel that my voice in our nation's capital is not heard, and I know that the elected officials that I call to voice my concerns about healthcare, the environment, or whatever else I decide that day that I need to voice about is not getting to them. Communities are supposed to lead and politicians are supposed to follow. And Mitchell Weiss is courageous enough to follow. I know that because I've been to almost every county convention in this state, and he has been there, talking to people, starting the conversation, because he wants Utah to thrive, and he feels the frustration that you and I feel. We might be a generation apart, but like I said before, Mitchell Weiss is the something new we need, proper representation. I am tired of politicians not listening to the people on the ground who are suffering, because we will not be able to fix a single thing unless we hear their stories. I am here because I believe that he wants me and every person across this great nation to thrive. So I am honored to introduce your next senator, Mitchell Weiss.
Thank you, Terry. Thank you all for being here. I need to acknowledge you for doing what it took to be here and what you're up to in your lives and what you're up to in everyone else's life. You're truly an inspiration. My name is Mitchell Weiss, and I am a devoted member of the Utah community. And like all of you, I am committed to a future where healthcare works for patients, providers, and taxpayers, where education is valued, where we are responsible stewards to our land, and where our economy produces sustainable jobs with livable wages and equal opportunities for all to thrive. That is why I am here today to announce my candidacy to represent Utah in the United States Senate. I want to ensure that every Utahn, liberal, conservative, unaffiliated, and disenfranchised alike, has the possibility to thrive in this great state and in this already great nation. As my wife Angel and I watch corporate influence steadily diminish our representation in government, we share a great concern for the future of our children and grandchildren. What kind of representation will they have? Will they even have a voice at all? But I found hope and revitalization in the possibility for progress by witnessing thousands of Utahns, many on these very steps, and millions of American citizens across the nation unite and demand to be heard. I am demanding we be heard, and I am here to listen to and represent you. I am taking a stand for every American thriving. I am here to listen to you, your story, what matters to you, and what it means for you and your family to thrive in the state of Utah. I am committed to transforming politics into a conversation in which all citizens participate powerfully and fearlessly. A government of the people, by the people, for the people. I will be your voice in our nation's Senate. I was born in California and raised by a single mother in Los Angeles. I have witnessed how amazing and powerful women are thanks to the selfless sacrifice made by my mother for my brother and me. Our little family depended on the charity, compassion, and empathy of our little community of family, friends, congregation, and the occasional government assistance, school lunches, and after-school programs. After serving my LDS mission in France and Belgium, I started a family of my own. And I felt the need to seek out a certain quality of life an environment of wide open spaces, clean air, and majestic landscape surrounding family-focused community. I found no better place than Utah, and I did look elsewhere. I won't say where else. But it was here that I developed a strong love of the outdoors and the Wasatch Front. Since that time, I have finally become acclimated to the snow. And I've enjoyed participating and contributing to healthier and happier communities in Bountiful, Riverton, Midvale, Spanish Fork, and finally here in Salt Lake City. It is my experiences here and my love for the state of Utah that have motivated me to take a stand that these communities and every community in this state thrive. It is my experience that the American government no longer reflects the will of the American people. Corporate super PACs, special interests, lobbyists buy the decisions and motivations of those who should be representing us. Career politicians spend more time focusing on re-election by raising money through special interests or gerrymandering their districts right up there than they do listening to their constituents. It is my opinion that they devote more loyalty to their party's standards and ideals than they do to the principles and values of the people in Utah who elected them in the first place. This has created a political divide, which is unprecedented in my lifetime. As your senator, I will listen and engage in the conversation with you that our current representatives fail to initiate. Though we may not always agree, your voice will be heard, your vote will matter, and your communities will thrive. Every American thrives when they are given access to affordable health care, which lies at the heart of both a healthy population and a healthy economy. Every American thrives when they are unrestricted in their educational pursuits and not burdened by the rising cost of government-backed student loans and college tuition. Every American thrives when the risks to our environment are realized and appreciated, and steps are taken to preserve and restore our environment for future generations to enjoy. Every American thrives when they are provided a growing, prospering job market and given a livable wage. My name is Mitchell Weiss, and I am here today to start the conversation of transforming the unimaginable into the possible. We will transform how we are represented in government, regardless of race, gender, religious beliefs, political affiliation, or who we love. What matters is that our voices are heard. I am running for the United States Senate to ensure that these conversations are being had, that you are being listened to, and that every American citizen has an equal opportunity to thrive in this already great nation. I am asking for your support. And when you cast your ballots next year in frustration with our current leadership, through the sacred process of democracy, vote Vice for United States Senate. Thank you. Thank you. And God bless America.